Alright, so we finally hit Master 1 with branded Despia. Like, Jesus Christ, that was a long grind, having to go from all the way from flat to master for the first month. Like that was pretty brutal. So anyway, this is what the deck list looks like right now. Uh, yeah, it's mostly pretty standard. I changed it up a little bit partway through the climb. I used to be running more Bystials and a second Mercurier, but as you can see, I cut every Bystial besides the Sarniers, because it's the only one that's also an engine card that can dump Brand Spell traps for you, and Lubellion. I cut them all plus the second Mercurier for Super Poly. Mainly because the way this format is right now, it's like there are formats where the Despia engine is strong enough to where it can go second just if you open a bunch of engine cards and you can break boards. I don't believe is one of those formats, because if a Spright goes full combo on you and they end on like a carrot and all you have are branded cards, it's really hard to beat that. You're probably not beating that. Likewise, there are a bunch of other decks like Tier. If Tier sets up Crime, Suliek, or like a couple fusions, or they have Shufflers engraved, or all that stuff, like it's Shufflers alone, like kind of manhandle branded, so that's tough. And Dragon Link, you might think Fallen Valbaz make Alba Lenitus works on Dragon Link. No, it does not. If they have a branded beast or they have a spheres, you can't do that. Not only that, it kills your normal summon. Then you have to hard open brand fusion, and it's really hard to beat their full board again with just branded cards. So I needed something like Super Poly to at least help going second. Like it helps versus dragons that make Boral in turn 1. It helps versus Spright boards. It doesn't completely kill Spright boards, but you know, it's something. You know, Super Poly is good going first and second. So I'm not putting in Dark Ruler because Dark Ruler is not really good against anything besides Spright, so it's too narrow of an application. So Super Poly is like the most versatile going second card, and it's good against the mirror match, since the person who goes first in the mirror match gets to set up their branded traps early on, which is really important, and gives them a huge advantage in the mirror. So Super Poly being able to, you know, nullify explosion setups and basically even the playing field a bit when you go second to mirror is still helpful. And for the rest of the deck, for the non-engine, we have 3 Max C, 3 Ash Blossom, because Ash Blossom negates Max C and negates Brand Infusion, so it's pretty good this meta, and triple Max C to get the Ash Blossoms out of their hand. You know, that's the main purpose of this Max C. And then we have Call Bys and Crossouts to negate the Ash Blossoms. Most of the ratios are standard. We're like maxing out on like Brand Infusion, maxing out on opening. Just the single Cartasia, because I needed to fit in going second cards, such as Super Poly. Same reason why we only have the 1 Mercurier, which is fine, because you'll see, if you saw my video on the Grand Explosion and the other lines, we always just bring back the first Mercurier off Brand Explosion if we go through the Rinbrim line to manage it, so it's fine. Triple fusion deployment, because it gets Cartesia without costing a normal summon, which when brand opening is at 2s, sometimes you have to spend your normal summon out a lot more often. Then we have Gold Sark and Foolish Burial to, as more consistency cards, banish Tragedy, banish Mercurier to get your Cartesia or Alibur, or you can dump Sarnier or Lubellion if you already have combo. Brand Lost Broken, double Albaz, not 3, because there's no other fusion spells like Poly that we're playing, so you don't really need to draw this anymore. And yeah, Brand Lost targets Albion Kit, and we're only running 2 branded traps Retribution and Expulsion. Expulsion is my favorite target now. We're not running Banishment, not running other stuff like that. I think Expulsion is the best search. Is the best search for off Albion. And if you don't know why, go check out the video I made on Brand Expulsion. And like you see, there's no gimmick puppet in here. You don't need gimmick puppet to run Expulsion. It's still just as, okay, maybe not just as broken, but it's still extremely broken. It's probably provides the most disruption out of any brand spell trap. I go this for this way more now, even more so than Brand Red, because Brand Expulsion plays around Bystials, which are common, and plays around Call by the Grave, which you have no way of telling whether your opponent has or not. Because at least with Bystials, if they have a Bystial, oftentimes they'll like use it on your turn, so at least you'll know they either used it already or if they held it, but like there's no way to tell if your opponent has Called by the Grave or not. So being able to do Expulsion setups that play around Call by is very huge, whereas Brand Red obviously plays really hard into Call by, and you lose really hard to that if you go for Brand Red. And for the extra deck, okay, the Mirror Jade, Albion, Lubellion, Grand Guignol, all of these stuff are pretty standard. Guardian Chimera, the Proskenion, and Chloridas are just Grand Guignol targets. And we're playing Super Poly, so you need the two Super Poly targets, Mudray and Garura. Dragostapelia is needed. Brigand adds Mercurier in some lines. If you don't go for Rinbrum, this can get you your Mercurier that way. And Sprint, the Iron Dash Dragon. This is key. This is so important in this build that I'm playing. I use Sprint so much. Again, if you check out the Expulsion lines, I use lines for dumping Sprint with Grand Guignol so I can summon Kit in the end phase to add Brand Red and play it during my end phase. That way I can preserve the Albion search for Expulsion. Instead of, requiring Albion to get my Brand Red and stuff like that. And the fusion materials, Fallen Valvas was one effect monster special summon this turn. This the way I play, I summon Fallen Valvas a lot during my opponent's turn. So if Sprint is the most generic of the fusion materials of all the Albas fusions, so you can almost always fuse with your opponent's monster if you have a Sprint in the extra deck as well. It's like, yeah, this is like honestly like one of the, I go into this way more than Dragostapelia and like my Super Poly targets, and like I summon this way more than I even get to tag out for, because oftentimes I'm banishing Grand Guignol in my lines. So I utilize Sprint like honestly more than I use like either of these Despia fusions as well. And oh yeah, also one more thing on Guardian Chimera. I see this a lot. Don't stop misplaying with Blazing Cartasia. Blazing Cartasia, I've seen so many of my ranked opponents in Master Rank use Cartasia to fuse into Guardian Chimera. So if you read the second line of Guardian Chimera, it says if this card is fusion summoned by spell card effect, you can do the effect. Okay. Blazing Cartasia is not a spell card. Its effect is not a spell effect. You will not get the pop and draw of Guardian Chimera if you make it with Blazing Cartasia. So don't be that guy. And yeah, if you have any more questions about the deck, let me know in the comments. Let's move on to the replays and some gameplay of this. So as a note, I changed my deck list a bit partway through the climb to just adding Super Polys, and I took out some extra stuff like the second Mercurier, so there might be some lines in the replays you see where my deck is slightly different. Like in this one, for example. This is one where we have Alibur and Sarnier. So this is the classic Rinbrum line. And we use Sarnier, Banish, Mercurier, the second Mercurier, which I no longer have in my deck. Well, the combo mostly the same. Blazing Cartesia, going to Grand Guignol, and yeah, if you've seen my combo videos and you've seen my expulsion video, you know this is where we dump Sprint special kit to add Brand Red. I put back the cross out because if they don't have Ash, I don't need that card anymore. Brand Red back to Albaz, banish the Grand Guignol, going to Mirror Jade, and then Rinbrim will negate the Mirror Jade after sending the Albion and return the Sarnier to my hand, and the Albion will set Expulsion. So yeah, full setup, full combo. This is like infinite amount of interruptions, and you'll see that I let my opponent cook a bit too much, you know. They almost made a Mission Star Mirror out of this. I let them play for too long. So I use my interrupts really badly. As you'll see. First Scream, normal summon Merly. And they want to mill 6. So they're gonna mill 3. They trigger Rhinoheart. They trigger Kelbeck. Yeah, that's kind of bad. And they get a Sully, I guess, a search. So I let that all through. We also have the Branded Retribution set, so actually a Solemn Warning effect. They're gonna summon the Rhinoheart, dump Sharon's, activate Happiness, activate Agido, activate Rhino. I guess I negate the second mill effect as my only opportunity to use Mercurier. But they already milled all their good stuff, so it doesn't really, that didn't really do anything. Now they're gonna go into Kaleido Heart off that, and Merly is gonna trigger, Kaleido's gonna trigger, and our opponent organized their chain link wrong. They did not chain block the Rinbrim, so Rinbrim can actually just negate the Kaleido Heart, which is gonna trigger their Halfness, which I'm gonna then trigger my Sarnier to banish the Merly in their grave that's trying to fusion summon. And they dump more. What timing? I banished a Merly and then they hit a crime to add the Merly back to hand. So then my opponent goes into Dark Charmer. Boom, try to take back my Alibur. I'll actually Brand Explosion, sack my Rinbrim, so I already used the effect to bring back my Alibur. To wipe the Dark Charmer effect, get back Cartesia, and get a search off Alibur. And they're gonna enter battle phase. I'm gonna go into Proskenion because I'm gonna get a run over my battle anyways. And when I try to crash with the Dark, I just banish it. And all they have left is a Rhino Heart. So end phase we add back Blazing Cartesia, and yeah, so as you can tell, that was a lot of interruption. I kind of used my interrupts randomly, and we still had more than enough. We still had a Solemn Warning left. We had follow-up, 2 forms of follow-up, 3 forms of follow-up if you count like the Brand Fusion in our hand. And I mean, yeah, like even when tier mills, like I think they triggered every single tier effect. They hit off a Soliak and they hit a mill 5, and they were still unable to break that board. So yeah, that's pretty formidable if you set it up properly. Alright, this is a duel with a custom combo. You see this hand? We're gonna start off with Fusion Deployment, get the Cartesia, use Cartesia's effect to fuse with the Tragedy in the Grand Guignol. That will trigger the Tragedy and the Grand Guignol. And I'll chain block the Tragedy even though it doesn't really matter. Send the Ad Libitum, Tragedy effect will trigger Ad Alibur. Normal summon the Alibur, get the Brand Fusion, activate Brand Fusion, get that Ash out of here. I love being able to negate my opponent's only form of interruption. You know, it's what a fair and balanced game. So yeah, this is gonna add us the Brand Fusion. Or this is gonna resolve Brand Fusion. We're gonna go for the Albion line, banishing Albaz and Alibur, Special Summon Lubellion, discarding the second Fallen Albaz from our hand. Tribute Albion, get Lubellion, set lost, use Mirror Jade effect set to banish the Lubellion to send, and to send Brigand, and now I actually use Branded in red. You know, we're not stopping here. We're using, because I have to ad-lib them. I'm gonna use Branded in red, add the ad-lib them back, summon Dragosphila. That way we get the search off Branded Lost. And the thing we're search off Branded Lost is gonna be an Albion. The ad-lib them is gonna summon the Mirror Jade back to refresh it. Albion is gonna dump Retribution. And then the Retribution is gonna add us back the Branded in red that we just used, so we can set it again. And here we have Mirror Jade live, Dragosphila, Brand in red, and Brigand is gonna search us Mercurier. So, and we drew into a Sarnier, and we have the Grand Guignol. So whenever I have an opportunity to, I see myself being able to dump Retribution into the grave, I will just probably fire off Brand in red just to get a value off it, since I can just re-add it back and add it as an interruption for my opponent's turn. So I'll just use Brand in red as like a free fusion summon on my turn. Yeah. Oh, by the way, Albion, Brand Expulsion, Cartasia add back. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 interruptions. Yeah. Opponent's gonna turn its heartbeat, target the expulsion. I'm just gonna use the expulsion right now. Like, get back Alibur and give them the ad libitum, which they can't really do anything with. If they fuse with it, I get the effect. Thank you very much. Get the search, and yeah, our opponent. I mean, I don't blame them. You're probably not breaking this board like under any circumstance, so even if it had evenly, we kind of just blocked off evenly right there. So, yeah. Well, I should have summoned you summoned the ad libitum defense. You know, that's the one thing I did wrong. If I summoned the ad libitum defense, they would have played around evenly too, and then they would literally not been able to do anything. So this is a replay where I play through Ash Blossom, sort of. It's weird. First we fire off Bystial Lubellion. You know, sometimes they just Ash the Lubellion because they don't think that you're on. Yeah, you should like play around that I might be unbranded if I use Lubellion, but just in case, you know, some people just Ash Lubellion think you're on Dragon Link or something. Then we're gonna Branded opening, cat's out the bag, get the Alibur, and Sarnier will dump a Retribution, add Brand Fusion, activate Brand Fusion, gets ashed. You know, it's gonna happen. You're gonna have to learn some lines to do after you get ashed. Next we're gonna Sarnier, banish Sarnier, and this is where they misplayed. So our opponent had Ash and a Bystial. If you have an Ash and a Bystial and you resolve both of them, you should 100% be able to stop a Branded turns if you place them properly. However, they I mean, I was just gonna summon the Sarnier. Think about it. If I summon the Sarnier and I have Alibur and Sarnier, what does that do? Like, absolutely nothing. I'm blocked into fusion because I activated Brand Fusion. So there's no reason to deny me the Sarnier. And because they just use their Baldric just like that, they get punished if I have any other useful card in hand or normal summon, which I do. I have Goatsword, which will banish Mercurier and add Cartasia. Now we can normal Cartasia and make a Grand Guignol. And Grand Guignol effect is gonna dump Sprint. Like, if you're playing against Branded and you Ash or Anafusion, you always want to hold the Bystial for the potential thing that I can send, the potential X-Deck monster I can send to the grave. I would say like a Grand Guignol or something. Or, better yet, hold it for the target for my Branded spell trap, like Brand in red. That way you for sure get value out of it. Because now this Baldric, not only does it not do anything, like watch, it's gonna be a liability. So first we add back Brand Fusion just as a card in hand. In the end phase, we're gonna add Cartasia back. And because we dump Sprint, right? Sprint can summon Fallen Valbaz during the end phase. And then I'll fuse Fallen Valbaz with their Baldric to go into Lubellion. And now I can just hard make a Mirror Jade anyways through Ash Blossom and their misplaced Bystial. And now we still have these two cards in hand, plus a Mirror Jade and a Grand Guignol. And our opponent's on Spright. And if Maxi resolves So Mirror Jade plus Maxi is insanely difficult for Spright to deal with. Like, they have to get rid of Mirror Jade while playing around its effect to Raigeki, because if I get the Raigeki effect, then they can't set up any type of board, because they're just gonna get wiped. So they have to like out Mirror Jade in a weird wave. Their two outs are like Sky Cavalry Centauria, which returns this to the extra deck, or making a line that gets rid of Mirror Jade while having red on the field to negate its Raigeki effect. And if you're under Max C, you absolutely cannot do that, because you're gonna give me like 7 draws just to out the Mirror Jade. And you also triggered rank when you have to get the skinny on the field, and our opponent knows that. So yeah, don't fire off your Bystials against branded hastily, otherwise you're gonna get punished like that. Alright, so this is a game, worst case scenario, going second against a trap deck when we run no ways in the main deck to interact with back row. And they're on Laboratories. Thank you for ditching Maxi, even though now they set 4 with a Labrynth on the field. So since we Hardrew brand red, I actually this looks really weird. But you brand opening pitch alley with a special Aliber. That way you get a brand in red target engraved, which means now this is live whenever we want, and that's gonna be really important later on. Add brand fusion. We're gonna flip welcome Labrynth, and we're just gonna have to hope they like don't hit the brand and red out. They don't hit one of the good cards in our hand. And Stovey comes out, and I summon Sarnier on the field because this is probably the most value I'm gonna get out of it. This Sarnier is gonna be really important later on, actually, as you'll see. They draw a card and set it, and then they pop the Explosion, which is the worst card in hand. So, you know, got a bit lucky there. Giant Phoenix for Albion, and Albion for Rebellion. Pitch the Mercurier. Go into Mirror Jade. Now that Mirror Jade hits the field, they can test their monster, so their lovely Labyrinth isn't gonna threaten us anymore. And we get the Bystial Lubellion on the field. They flip Gozen Match on the Lubellion. This is why I pitched the Aliber brand opening first, so we could chain to any sort of trap they have. If they have like D barrier, even at least we could potentially make a chain brand red and fusion summon once before the D barrier goes up. But since they didn't have a D barrier, all they had was a Gozen Match. We could chain brand red. The only light monster we have is Lubellion, so we get back the Aliber, and then banish 2 from the field, including the Sarnier from earlier, to summon the Guardian Chimera. And Guardian Chimera can pop their 2 other back row, one of which is a punishment. And here's another reason why you lead with opening against back row decks, because you can protect against random destruction back row with brand opening in the grave, and you just pop the other 2 and then clear their field. Just like one thing, even when I'm only running 1 Guardian Chimera now, I'm not running really any ways to interact with back row. You do have in-engine ways such as Guardian Chimera to deal with back rows. Floodgates are generally not. Most floodgates aren't very effective against you. Summon limp, like, pretty much, I think it's like Gozen Match is one of the ones that's most effective against you because it can stop you from Lubellion. I don't know why they didn't flip it earlier, to be honest. Like when I activated Brand Fusion or on my Albion or whatever, but I guess they couldn't tell if I was gonna go into Lubellion or not, because I could have just never gone to Lubellion, since all I control were Dark Monsters, so there was really not a good opportunity to be in their mind to flip it. But yeah, with Tigaboo does like nothing against Branded, like absolutely nothing. I think their Chameleon was actually inside the Aldeath Strike Branded structure deck in the TCG, and like Skill Drain is, if they had Skill Drain, my monsters are literally bigger than theirs, so it's like whatever, right? And now they have nothing. And end phase we get 2 searches, one with the Albion to set the Brand Retribution, which, funnily enough, negates this card called Welcome Labrynth, and we get the kit at hand. They top deck a trap card. I'm just gonna special kit and add Branded Lost, put back the Maxi because that's not doing anything for me. Enter battle phase, and yo, they drew the best card in their deck, Storming Mirror Force. Get back the Paleo, and I just Mirror Jade to send the Albion to banish itself, so I can at least get an Albion search. But the problem is they returned my Chimera to the extra deck, so they gave me an extra chance to just pop their card since I only run one Chimera. But, you know, thanks for that. And they're gonna reset Welcome Labrynth. I'm just gonna brand Fusion for my only viable target left, which is Brigand, dumping ad-libs, and I don't want to draw it. And I'll add Albion, see if I can draw something. Dump another branded opening to protect my Fusion monster. And I have absolutely no targets for Goatsark, so I just get that tragedy out of my deck, because I don't want to draw it, but it's like honestly, I probably should have just kept it in hand for a discard or something. They're gonna enter battle phase to kill their own Paleo and then flip the Welcome Labrynth, which we can negate with the Brand Retribution that we set, like the rare time where you set Brand Retribution. So yeah, this match is going to be a lot more annoying when we get the new Labrynth support, so you're gonna expect to see a lot more D barriers in the future. So as for moving forward, what I'm gonna do with one less Brand Fusion, you can run like another kit, another Cartasia, just another consistent card basically over Brand Fusion. You could run non-engine like Imperm as a crossout target, because this deck's still pretty consistent, still has like double-digit amounts of starters and a lot of 2-card combos to play. What I'm gonna try is Pot of Prosperity. Now, most of the time you're only gonna Pot of Prosperity for 3. Like, let's be honest here. You're probably gonna... I probably banished Proskenion, Coridas, and either one of Brigand or Super Poly target if I know my opponent's not gonna have a juicy... If they're playing a deck that doesn't have like a juicy way to play into one of these, but yeah, most of the time it's gonna be Brigand, Proskenion, and Coridas. And this is when you if you don't have a way to Brand Fusion, but if you just Prosperity for 3, you're most likely gonna hit one anyways because you run so many ways to do it. If you want to be a Giga Chad, you can banish 6, and then your opponent, and then the spaced out Ash. Plus, they don't think you're on Brand Fusion, so they're gonna be more hasty with Ash. But also, what I like about Prosperity is sometimes if you don't have if you already have Brand Fusion, they might not try to Ash Prosperity for 3, and then you can hit something like a Called by the Grave or a Crossout to insulate your Brand Fusion, or a Brand Lost. Or if you're going second, since you're running Super Poly, Prosperity revealing Super Poly is like just a quick and easy board breaker that they can't really play around if they let the Prosperity resolve. Another question I guess I might be asked is why I'm not playing the other branded spells and traps. Mainly Brand and White, I'm no longer using this as part of my combo. I'm mainly just using Brand and Red as my way to fuse during my turn right now, so Brand and White is not needed as an extra engine requirement. Branded for the just Brand Management and Brand Beast, and Branded Regained, I'm not playing these is because I'm not going to prioritize these, right? If I don't have Lost, I'm going to prioritize getting Lost first. And my branded trap of choice is going to be Expulsion. So I'm only going to ever go for stuff like Beast or Regain if I already have access to Lost and Expulsion. But if I already have access to that, it's like kind of feels win more, because like then I already have my main game plan fully resolved and ready, and this will just be adding more engine requirements to the deck. that take up space for like potentially going second cards, because again, this deck's engine is big, so it needs as much room for cards that help going second as it can fit in. So yeah, and like as for why I don't want to go for banishment, because explosion lines I can set up to where I'm playing around Call by Grave and I'm playing around Bystials, whereas Branded Banishment plays heavily into those cards, which are very common in this meta still. And I've punished plenty of my opponents for when they go for Banishment or Brand Red, and then they play right into one of my Bystials or play right into a Call by the Grave. And Brand Beast is, especially now since we're on a much lower Bystial count, I'm only running the Sarnier, and Sarnier half the time does not even stay on the field. So yeah, Branded Beast is not as effective for me for this specific build. And Regained is, in that case, like Regained is just kind of a win more card than Branded. This is like, honestly, Regained is more of a Dragon Link card than a Branded card. They make much better use out of it with like all their baby dragons and chaos space and stuff like that. So yeah, and yeah, this is the deck I've been using for Master, and probably the deck I'll be using post Banlist, something like this. And if you want a more in depth on how to play this deck, I have a couple combo videos right here to explain in depth the combo lines and what to do with what in your hand and stuff like that. So go check these out if you want to learn more about how to play this deck.